rises? Who's risen in your RB rankings, big fella?
He was one of my risers last week. He's one of my risers again this week. Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals only scored 15 points, but had 25 rushing attempts and 8 targets, 6 receptions. So basically, ever since I've traded him, Giovanni Bernard has been cut and Mixon's doing it all. So he's pretty much back. He's pretty much a top 8 running back now, which feels good.
25 attempts. That's outrageous.
Yeah, in a blowout loss, there was 2.5 yards per attempt against the Ravens, but I mean they're giving him the ball. So,
by the way, you just reminded me when you said the word cut. Did you see Lev Bell?
Oh yeah, yep.
Actually, pretty spicy. Good from us doing NFL podcast and not even mentioning that till the 35th minute. But.
Well, he's going to be. I was going to talk about him later, actually, in the things to watch.
Oh, okay. I like it. And we hardly even mentioned Dan Quinn, but he doesn't deserve a mention. Rises. I'm actually getting around one of my fellas here. They're normally my fallers, but Todd Gurley. He scored 25 points, and the main thing is he only had 1 TD. I'm not one of these rookie NFL fantasy players who's just going to get around the guy similar to yourself there with the Mixon call. We're not going to get baited in by a big 30 when they've scored 3 touchdowns. So for him to take away that touchdown, he scored 19 base points, if you know what I mean, against Carolina, who have been pretty bad in the rushing defense, but overall they're not the worst defense going round. And the Atlanta O-line has been looking pretty bad this year, but he decided to pump out around 9 yards per carry. So
do you know if he broke like a big one, or was he just like consistent?
No. I probably should check that out, to be honest. But I probably do need to have a look at that, because that really helps the case when they whip out like a 50. But yeah, did Matt Ryan throw the ball much? Do you know?
I doubt he would have, considering his stat line. He only had like 190 yards.
Yeah, maybe they were just running it down their throat. But yeah, I don't know. I say this, and yes, I think Todd Gurley has risen after a slow start, but I am a little bit concerned. Ridley didn't play on the weekend, did he?
No, he did. Ridley played.
Oh, okay, but Julio's to come back. There's a new coach or interim coach coming in. They might start to throw the ball more. So there is uncertainty with Gurley, but really like those base numbers. When you take away that TD, anyone who can get 19 points without a TD, that's always what I like to see. So well done, Todrick. Proud of you, big fella. Who's anyone else you want to mention in there, or just straight to the falls?
I'll mention my other one. This bloke only scored 10 or 11 points as well, but Raheem Mostert from the 49ers. The game script pretty much meant they had to throw the ball every snap, but he did his usual, came out and got 9 yards per carry, whipped out like 90 yards on the ground.
He's a joke. And he's so good.
Their offensive line is ridiculously good, though.
Yeah.
It must be. But I mean, he is good, and he's clearly, like, Jerick McKinnon was balling out while he was injured, but Mostert's clearly their number one back.
Yeah, that's my number one faller, actually. Very cheap, low blow, having a crack at someone's RB3, but he was offered to me in fantasy last week by the Glizzy Goblins.
Smart rejection.
Well, I didn't even reject it. I just left it hanging.
You're a dog.
I just saw the notification in my email. I didn't check fantasy till Sunday night. But yeah, Jerick McKinnon, as you said, he was doing quite well when most and Coleman were out. Is Coleman still out? Or
I don't even know, but I'm pretty sure he's just shit. Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, McKinnon only touched the ball 3 times, and his ship is sailed. So if you have McKinnon, just chuck him on the waivers. No point really, unless you're backing in Mostert to get injured again. I'll say my other faller, and then we'll go back to you. My other faller is Devin Singletary. Just Tennessee have allowed, before today's game, Tennessee had allowed the 3rd most yards per play. So one of the worst defenses over the first 3 weeks. Zach Moss was out, who'd been taking his red zone touches. And he decided to only run for 25.
Wait, did Moss play this morning? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
And he decided to only run for 25 yards off 11 attempts.
Jeez, that is shocking.
Yeah, like honestly, so bad. Like that sucks.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think Singletary's like so overrated. Like I don't rate him at all.
yeah, so if look, he shouldn't be starting if you've got a two running back flex situation. I don't think he's good enough to even flex anymore.
Yeah,
Just when Moss is back, he doesn't
yeah.
have touchdown scoring potential, and he's not doing enough on the ground. So yeah, Singletary, similar to McKinnon. It's all at this point. It's almost a drop to the waivers situation. But yeah, no good from Singletary. Who's your fallers, mate?
Um, Once again, two of my team. Bit of context here. My team scored 79 fantasy points this week, so a lot of the fallers are my players. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was my faller last week as well. But this week, I'm like, he's playing the Raiders. If he doesn't put up 30 this week, he never will, and he put up about 10, 40 yards, only 10 rushing attempts. The Raiders must have got off to like a real hot start because the Chiefs barely had any rushing attempts, but nevertheless, he only had like 3 receptions and no touchdowns. So I'm getting very worried about Clyde, and
Yeah,
I might try and trade him because he still has quite high. Like people still view him as a bloke who was drafted really high, and he's got high projecteds each week. So
yeah, and everyone froths a Kansas player on fantasy, don't they?
that is true, especially Campbell.
Yes. Do you have anyone else to mention there, or do you want to move on to the wideouts?
And I'll go Josh Kelly of the
Oh
Chargers.
yeah, did he get injured?
So it's pretty weird because we saw he was pretty much getting more carries than Austin Eckler, and now Eckler's gone down and Justin Jackson's getting more carries